Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Spiritist Psychology Study Group for this meeting in our new series, The Inner Journey, Finding Your True Self. Here we will explore life big questions and connect with others of path of self-discovery based on the teaching of Joanna de Angelis. I'm Fabrício Assunção from the Joanna de Angelis Spiritists International. Here with us is our speaker, Dr. Anahy Fonseca. This evening, and I will delve into the book Moments of Health by Joanna de Angelis, chapter 15, Renewed Life. We will have time for questions and feel free to contribute with your insights, reflections, and questions. Now, a few words of introductions about Anahy. Dr. Anahy Fonseca is a psychiatrist and Jungian analyst who, for some 30 years, has been working psychotherapy, diagnosis, and research on the relationship between spirituality and mental health. She's a member of the Medical Spiritist Association of Brazil, where she teaches Spiritist psychology by Joanna de Angelis. I now hand it over to Anahy for her talk about renewed life. Over to you, Anahy.
Thank you, Fabrício. It's always a pleasure to be with all of you again. And Fabrício, just to remind people that are not present now, but will be listening, that we are doing three parts, the text, and we will answer some questions and reflections. Okay, so it's more dynamic this way. So I'll start sharing the presentation. And here we go, not like last time. Okay, we all can learn as Joanna keeps telling us. So, as Fabricio said, this is the Inner Journey study group, Finding Your True Self. This study inspired by the Spirit, Joanna de Angelis, books psychographed by Divaldo Pereira Franco, or Dear Divaldo. So, okay. So this beautiful, it's short. It's Fabricio has put in the WhatsApp group, but it's really the text, but it's really, really beautiful and very profound. And it starts with this saying by Joanna. The divine energy gives birth to life everywhere and dominates me. Indefinable, the act of living and thinking, feeling and loving, reaches its climax in the human being. This powerful energy in me induces me to rise new sources for growth and self-realization. I choose the option of happiness. I will not give in to gloominess, to the disturbing injunctions to which I have become accustomed. I am life unfolding. I restore myself and acquire new patterns of thought, of action to become whole. I think this is so, so beautiful and profound, the way that Joanna starts this chapter. And I brought to you some other authors, many, many authors nowadays, even in science. Science is getting there, are starting to understand what Joanna decades ago was trying already to tell us, that the divine energy that gives birth to life everywhere, it's all around us, and it is within us also. And that the act of living, thinking, feeling, and loving reaches its climax in the human being. This powerful energy induces all of us to raise new sources for growth and self-realization. So we all have this possibility for growth and self-realization, but we must choose. We must choose, as he said, I choose the option of happiness. I will not give in to gloominess, to the disturbing injunctions to which I have become accustomed. So, why do we have become accustomed to these injunctions, as she calls the challenges, our mistakes, our difficulties? And at the same time, we are restoring ourselves. Life is unfolding within all of us. What does that mean? Life is unfolding within all of us. And we are acquiring new patterns of thought, of action to become whole. What all of that means, okay? So let's see what she says in this beautiful chapter, Renewed Life. Joanna says that the most extraordinary gift that exists is life. It manifests itself in various ways, obeying rhythm cycles with established objectives. It is inevitable. So we all go and we obey some cycles of nature. Okay, it is inevitable and cannot be postponed, as its progression toward perfection follows a predetermined course. Life is perpetually renewed, and this process is integral to its ongoing function. So the renewal of life is a function, it's an ongoing function. Elements that are not refreshed either cease to exist or undergo transformation or disrupt the mechanisms of existence. Okay? So, of course, here she's talking about the soul, the psyche here, our evolution, of course, as spirits in many incarnations, but also the material world, right? So we are all being renewed, and elements that are not refreshed either cease to exist or undergo transformation or disrupt the mechanism of existence. And she says, let me just give them. Human life is an invaluable asset that should be safeguarded and utilized effectively, ensuring its full potential is realized to maximize the advantages it offers. We're going to see more of that. And look how beautiful divine emanation. Life is the presence of the superior psyche manifesting itself everywhere. I started writing down, I don't know if you do the same, it's an exercise that I do. The different terms that Joanna, I'm writing right now, the different terms that Joanna calls God, what we call God, that we, of course, are striving to understand, to leave God, to understand God. So that's one of the terms, divine emanation. Life is the presence of the superior psyche manifesting itself everywhere. Okay? So human life is an invaluable asset that should be safeguarded and utilized effectively, ensuring its full potential. What is our full potential? So ensuring that its full potential is realized to maximize the advantages it offers. We don't even know that. And I told you, I research anomalous phenomena. So I listen to different podcasts in different parts of the world, of course in English, but nowadays they have translation, so it's easier. about near death experiences, mediumship, and different kind of anomalous, what we call in science anomalous phenomena. And and I can tell you that people are talking a lot. I don't know, I don't have to tell you guys because of course you know about life outside of Earth, right? And disclosure and this and that. And Fabrício, Sylvia, everybody that is here that already know and has been studying spiritist knowledge, we know about that. I don't know, 150 years ago, Allan Kardec told, just have to read Genesis and his wonderful book and Spirit's book and all the others, right? um, Heaven and hell and all the others, where spirits from different planets manifest to Allan Kardec. So it's nothing new for us. And it's such a big thing, that it's going on, even psychologically, and also, I mean, governments around the world. You guys must be accompanying this, are talking now about this. So there's nothing new because the planet, as the spirit, the universe, actually, as the spirits tell Allan Kardec, the universe has life everywhere. Planets, galaxies have intelligent beings. We know that many, many now decades through spiritist knowledge. So back to Joanna, divine emanation. So the superior psyche that creates everything manifests itself everywhere. Okay, so how do we get to understand this divine emanation? Let's go to Joanna again. To aspire and immerse oneself with this vital energy. So let's go back and see the synchronicity. I will be talking to you about the concept of synchronicity and synchronicities. But for the ones that are already very familiar to, you already know. But for the ones that are here for the first time, little by little, you will get. But synchronicities, very quickly, are this what's going on in our inner world, like makes a tune in with the outside world or with something of the outside world. And it's not cause and effect, but it's causal, let's say. It's not cause and effect, but it's connected through meaning, okay? And we were just in this part as the light here, because of the excessive heat, we are going through this difficult climate change and the solar activity that is so big these days. So of course we're going to have problems with the internet, problems with the technology, but we will persevere. So let's think about this synchronicity that Fabrizio now had some technical problems exactly in this point that we were talking about. So Joanna was saying to aspire and immerse oneself with this vital energy is an act of intelligence applied to the preservation of achievements and their expansion. In this ceaseless flow of energy, the innate possibility within the being emerges, and the being realizes the glory and the joy of living. So even if something happens that we lose temporarily connection with each other, okay, and it could happen even for let's say things of the nature like the solar flare and this and that, and it happens with something in the internet. It could happen in any country, or problems with the climate that could happen with any country that we can lose, as in the pandemic. for a while, connection to each other, materially speaking, people. But I can tell you because I research and work in this line in psychiatry about spirituality, religion, and mental health, the interconnection of all these concepts, right? So it is amazing if you really live spirituality, if you really go to the text, if you really reflect upon it, what it can do to our mental health, to this purpose and meaning in life, even in difficult times, even in a negative, let's say, synchronicity, when something, for instance, I'm doubting myself. I'm thinking that, well, maybe I'm not worth, or maybe I have more problems than I think about myself. And then will people understand and like me, for instance? Will I have job tomorrow? Will I get sick? Will I be balanced tomorrow or will I lose my balance? Okay? So for any reason, will I have some problems? Will I be present here in the material world tomorrow? We never know, right? Except the higher self. The self, Jung's concept of the self, capital S, as Joanna tells us, is our spirit. So the spirit knows how long we have to live this life. Okay, the soul sometimes lose connection, the psyche, let's say, because the ego has to do this part of being in contact with the higher self. And we can temporarily lose connection. But remember, the connection is within, not without. So if we lose connection here, Fabrice and everybody else, another time, the third time, remember, there is numerology and the symbolism of the numbers. For instance, now is twice. And number two is a dual number, opposites, duality, okay? So let's see what Joanna tells us. So remember, Joanna is saying in this ceaseless flow of energy that is happening always within us and that connects us all beyond matter and space and beyond space and time, right? The innate possibility within the being emerges. So our higher self, our spirit manifests stronger in this reality. And the being realizes, and we all realize, the psyche realizes the glory and joy of living. So people think as mental illnesses, diseases, general diseases, even organic diseases, thoughts of dying, of taking one's own life, they are very difficult. Drug addiction, different types of addictions, all of this goes away. I can tell you that. It's decades studying this now. When they go away, when we make this connection with this ceaseless flow of energy within ourselves, okay? And we realize the glory and the joy of living. So let's go back to what John is saying. Well, then here, Fabrizio, maybe we have to go a little further because of this stop. So I brought this PowerPoint. I don't know if you guys and people that are listening to us will be listening to us know this beautiful book by Rupert Sheldrake. He is a PhD, a scholar in the UK, at Cambridge University professor. And I love this book, A New Science of Life, The Hypothesis of Morphic Resonance. It could be difficult to some people that are not familiar, but what I wanted really to bring to you is to see how a scholar, a wonderful mind as Rupert Sheldrake, that really brings new paradigms to science. Very creative. How he thinks about exactly what Joanna is talking about decades previously. And I'm quite sure Rupert Sheldrake has never had any contact with, at least from what I know of him, with the thoughts of Joanna de Angelis. So it's just a paragraph I brought to you, and he's talking about the creative universe, okay? And he says, although a creative agency capable of giving rise to new forms and new patterns of behavior in the course of evolution would necessarily transcend individual organisms, it need not transcend all nature. It could, for instance, be immanent within life as a whole. In this case, it would correspond to what Bergson called the élan vital, French. I don't know, my French is not not that good. Or it could be immanent within the planet as a whole, or the solar system, or the entire universe. There could indeed be a hierarchy of immanent creativities at all these levels. I'm sorry, my PowerPoint sometimes confuses the Portuguese with the English, and if I don't have time to correct, I don't see it. But you will see it. So, immanent creativities at all these levels. Remember that we have seen question 540 as I was talking to you in the Spirit's book about evolution being and the spirit being the intelligent being of the creation, and the evolution going from atom to the archangels, right? So look what Rupert Sheldrake is telling us, and for people that are not that don't know about Bergson, it's just brought it to you that the élan vital, the vital impetus in Latin, is a key philosophical concept introduced by Henry Bergson in his 1907 work called Creative Evolution to describe a creative, non mechanical force driving evolution. Is the innate life force propelling organisms towards growth, increased complexity, and adaptation, distinguishing living dynamic process from inert static matter. But nowadays we know that all matter, we know through quantum physics and things like that, and science, the evolution of science and philosophies, but this is, of course, physics, quantum physics, that the dynamic process are everywhere. There's no such thing as inert static matter, right? But that was 1907, and Bergson had already a concept of a driving force in evolution, right? That was propelling organisms toward growth, increased complexity, and adaptation. So essentially, elan vital is the vital energy or soul that drives the development and evolution of living beings, the way that that Bergson, and that's a reference that Rupert Sheldrake is giving to us. So, for us to understand this creative agency capable of giving rise to new forms and new patterns of behavior in the course of evolution, we kind of make, I at least kind of make a comparison between Rupert Sheldrake's hypothesis of morphic resonance and the archetypes, Jung's archetypes. So Rupert Sheldrake is in biology, okay, he's a biologist, And Jung, of course, was developing and going further than Freud in the understanding of the psyche. So he created analytical psychology, Jung, right? And when he talks about the archetypes as being the steps of footsteps of God within the psyche, so all the possibilities that we have in the psyche to evolve, to live, to experience this life psychically, let's say, through the psyche, okay, and to learn with it would be these ancient forms, archetype, ancient forms, types in the psyche. Okay, there are all these possibilities of behavior, but not only behavior of connecting and adapting to this life and living this life and giving sense to this life. Okay. Would you like to stop a little bit here, Fabrizio? What do you think?
Yeah.
So we could go a little further in this in the discussion.
Um, so just before we move on to the next one, is there any question or any contribution, insights, and reflection what we have discussed so far you'd like to share with the group? Please raise your Zoom hands. Sylvia?
Actually, I'd like to ask a question because if I remember well, and in Sheldrake, he talks about the morphic fields having memories. Uh, when you say about you, do you compare this idea of the memory that exists everywhere with the collective unconscious? Would that be the comparison that you're thinking? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that, Sylvia. I don't know about how you would think about, but I'm thinking about, an analogy. Let's say that it's something quite similar, only that Rupert is talking about more biology and Jung's talking more about, the psyche, the soul, our psyche. I don't know. What do you think?
Because I was just thinking about it because he talks about the memory also being not being in rocks and but also in the body. And I was just thinking maybe there's some connection with the perispirit, what we call the perispirit, the astral body, because that's where our memories are kept. And of course a physical body will reflect uh, our spiritual body. So in a way, the memories, we do keep the memories in our body. And I have the experience of working with people in past life, doing past life regression, that we actually only work with the body. Almost there is no words. So the memory comes to uh, symptoms or things that people keep in their bodies from the past. So there is a lot of connection there as well because the collective unconscious is the memories, isn't it? That is
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
connected. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. We have Yes, exactly. Great, great, Sylvia. Because we have all these different bodies, we could say the mental body, the emotional body, and the subtle body, as the people in the Far East call the perispirit, and Allan Kardec talks about, right? So yes, we have all this memory. I don't think Rupert Sheldrake has participated online last time I saw in a Spiritist Medical Congress, and he talks about this memory, let's say, this morphic resonance. It's kind of complex, but it's very, I don't want to go further because otherwise we scare people. But I think it's great that Sylvia brought the perispirit, and because perispirit is the way that we know through spiritist knowledge of this memory that keeps an archive in the perispirit, right, Sylvia? The spirits
Yes, in the
tell
body.
Kardec. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So
but
when
it's
we
it was known anyway, isn't it? Because the we call, but Paul, the apostle, would call the spiritual body, the Hindus would call the astral body. In ancient Egypt was called the Ka. So
Yeah.
it's eternally known. So the
Yeah.
memories we keep with them,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's very nice that you said because what Nadia and I think Andres were telling us how difficult it is for us to change, let's say, these memories, to move from one certain pattern. But we have to understand that I think that we now have all this knowledge, and that's right, Fabrice, all these groups of study groups in about Joanna Jange's psychology is all about us understanding, recognizing these old patterns and even new ones that we make in new lives, right? In this life, for instance, that we are living, recognizing our complexes to go deeper within ourselves. So all that flow of energy can come and we can really, like the higher self can really express it. And the ego can really listen to this wisdom and this knowledge. So I think Sylvia is doing is bringing us a great concept of the spiritist that we can't actually even understand perfectly, right, Sylvia? The workings of the perispirit. We know something through Chico Xavier psychographing André Luiz, the spirit that was a doctor, and has a series of book. Sylvia knows a lot and can tell us. We have been studying Fabrice and I and everybody else because there are lots of knowledge there that people don't even in science they don't know yet. Okay, and it's we have all the paths to go deeper and understand these memories and really start changing them. Great, Sylvia. Yes. And I will keep bringing some because we are in this study group, we talk a lot about life. So I'll keep bringing some thoughts of Rupert Sheldrake for you guys to see. One of the authors that I will bring for you guys to see the connections that are so, intense and so profound because of course, we are all being the scientists, the philosophers, the common people, let's say that nobody's common because all of us have been something, right? But the all any profession, we are all being inspired, and Joanna is asking us that we wake up this wisdom that we have within, but we have to kind of clean and organize our inner temple, let's say, our inner house. And you would like to say something?
And you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, just a synchronicity. I bought this week a book by Rupert Sheldrake, his Science and Spiritual Practices Reconnecting Through Direct Experience. And
Wow,
in the
see?
beginning of the
Yeah.
book, he talks about his spiritual journey. Super, he writes in a lovely way and to explain how he came to do, and then it's going to go into different therapies and things, but it's trying to connect the science, not just the woo woo, but the science with the different practices, and even he goes like he went through many things, then he came back to Christianity, and the things are like of singing together, like in the East it's chanting, but in the church here in England people sing hymns. It's a similar kind of way of chanting together, of singing together, of connecting on energy levels with one another. So looking at Christianity from a different perspective, he rejoins the community in that way. But one of the things that I wanted to say about this thing of us changing our patterns of behavior is first to recognize that we do have these patterns of behavior and that they are ingrained in us and they have been ingrained for a long time for very good reason. But we are who we are where we are. And any change, Joanna always uses this expression, is little by little, step by step, moment by moment. So nothing like, oh, now I am super Anna. No, no. It's like you go grinding it slowly. And I think for me, one of the difficulties is actually seeing ourselves. Because even like my work used to be like this, we had so many lessons on this. You know what you know, that's a safe place of knowledge. You know what you don't know, so you don't give an opinion because you know you don't know about that. That's also a safe place. But the danger area is the things that you don't know that you don't know. Because then you might say something that you think you know, but you don't know, but you don't realize you don't know. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think that self-knowledge is very much in that area. And even in the question 919 of the Spirit's book, when it's saying, how can we come to know ourselves? It's wanting and having the courage to listen to what our enemies say about us, the people who don't like us. They quite often bring us the truth. What are the things that annoy us in others? What are the things we find difficult? And just say, yeah, well, okay, I find this difficult. Let me write this down. And if you start praying and thinking about it, you start to have that little bit of a gap that opens that you can see slightly different. I'm talking like without doing therapy or anything like that. It's a work that you can do on your own. So you can do this, but it has to be little by little, step by step, because it has to be real. It can't be on the surface. It needs to be depth work. And we might not be accustomed to doing depth work, or we might be complete novices. And that's fine. Because like Joanna says, the time to start is now. Don't delay. Start
Yeah.
now and go ahead. And so I feel that the studies and things, they're really helpful for me in my personal development. And to try and get some tools. So sometimes this whole chapter, I take one sentence or a couple of words. These are talking to me, and you say, like, what does she actually mean by this? And what does this mean to me? How does this affect me? Sorry, I spoke too much, but I was just very fascinated that
No,
I
no,
got this book.
it is.
Put Sheldrake this week.
It's a synchronicity. Joanna was telling, and we are very connected. We are going to be together in Portugal, God willing. So you and I and Silvia, yeah, because that's not only a synchronicity. I think people, I don't know what you think, but when this happens, that people that are studying and working together, for instance, have the same author, what is the chance, by chance that this book was right here, and I said I have to to take this and bring to people, and that Anne had just bought the same author. It's not by chance, because why? Because the flow of life. Because when we start studying, like texts or teachings from higher hierarchy, right? Of spiritual mentors, guarding angels, whatever, archangels or mentors, personal people that work, spirits that work with you. That's the flow of energy that starts acting, and that connects us all. I don't know, maybe at some point, Fabrizio, all of us will be so connected, so in tune with the thought of Joanna, that we will all bring, oh, and I also have this book of, for instance, of Rupert Sheldrake, and this and that, or something is going to call to all of us. As I told you in the beginning, this is study group, and it's the third year. But even people that are joining just now, right, Fabricio? Think they are joining now, but something called to them. Oh, but I don't understand some concept of. It doesn't. It's not important, people. As Anne was saying beautifully, it's step by step, it's sentence by sentence, because what is important is not the intellectual concepts, and not no, we are not here to be study to be analysts or whatever, or psychologists. We are here to study the teachings of this beautiful light teacher, as Anne calls, Joanna De Angelis, this beautiful mentor, that is bringing knowledge from up there. It's not up actually, it's just up for the ego, but is trying, right, Andreas? It's just bringing knowledge for the ego, but it's trying to wake up our own knowledge from past lives and from the struggle to evolve. So it is today, like Anne said. Sometimes people say, and I'll give to Andres, but sometimes the word and to Fabrizio. Sometimes people say, "Oh, but that's too difficult." I used to think, and that's too difficult, but because I was very, very Freudian. And Joanna de Angelis and Jung, that I hadn't a clue what was Jung talking about, the self, what is that, some decades ago. I had to deconstruct, maybe say a lot of concepts to understand. It took years, but we persevere, and suddenly it's like, oh, okay. Suddenly, yes, in 10 years, 20. But never give up. Joanna says this in the text because it doesn't matter. It's today, right? And it's feeling better today, feeling that you are in contact with something higher than this day by day reality, and that we don't have to struggle, we don't have to be anxious and depressed, that all the whole world seems crazy because it's everything happening because there is a purpose, and even if we don't understand, because everything is evolution, as Joanna says. Go ahead, Andres. Thanks so much, Anne.
I tried to get this really short, but I don't know how to do it, but I will really try, right? And Anahy, and especially Sylvia, that's giving so much information on top what I wanted to say. So I'm kind of a little bit contaminated now in a beautiful way, right? But pulling it all back to the course, something really amazing happens because I'm new to Spiritism like 3 years, but I didn't know anything about Joanna or the gospel according to Spiritism or the heaven and hell, and I don't know really what that meant. But I channeled for many years, and then 3, 4 years old, and talking about the pure spirit, which of course Sylvia's talking about. I used to call it from the age of 8 cell memory. So I didn't know why, but we got billions of cells, and I call it cell memory. And it's actually the same thing, which I did not realize until Spiritism 3 years ago. But I had a client flying in from Israel only 4 days ago and came specially to see me, but I did something very strange. So before I started channeling, to keep it really short, so they asked me to take the gospel. And so I said, okay. So I took the gospel and I sat on the table and they told me to play with it. So I played with it. It's really, there are 550 pages in this book, I think, right? And this is where in the quantum field, it already exists. And when you're a channel, you can take it from anywhere, right? But no, the gospel arrived in front of my foot. And I played with it. I get stuck and I open it. And it was a very powerful paragraph, which I had to read, which made no sense to me. So I photographed it and I kept it on my phone. And the client arrived and I sat with him and I said, I need to send you something now, but you mustn't open it. I sent you something which was given to me before you came in. And well, on the end, he read it, and the entire 3 hour therapy was all about this paragraph. Literally, almost word for word, some pieces were in there from the gospel. But then it's all about cell memory or pure spirit. The body keeps score because his was anger and forgiveness and judgment. And so he was stuck. Nothing I could do, but I wrote 3 words on a piece of paper and I put it in his pocket on the beginning. And that was literally the 3 words I wrote. So what I'm trying to say is all already in the quantum field, it's all around us. It's not something which doesn't flow through us, It's like, it's a permanent movement of waves. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And so what I'm trying to say, the course is like what Joanna is writing, what is in these books written in the 18th century or the 1850s, 19th century. If you already know it, it's in ourselves. The body keeps score. So what we were, what we are, and what we will be, it already exists inside. So whatever you familiarize yourself, whatever somebody will bring to you in any way, shape, or form, it's literally awaken what you already know. This is what it's about. And I think we need to stop judging. And definitely, we must not forgive because we make ourselves a victim. The moment we are a victim, we're locked inside. We need to forgive ourselves that we believe we can forgive others because that's not what we're meant to do.
Yes, and Joanna talks about that.
What?
Joanna talks about that,
Ah,
forgiving others. If you don't forgive yourself,
yes, you need to forgive yourself that you believe you can forgive. Because that's
yeah.
what we're meant to do. Because the other is a teacher as much as we're a teacher to someone else, but we're also called them as teachers. So we are meant to experience life, not to judge life, and this makes us free. Don't take if you take things on, you're bound. If you don't take it on, you're free. So basically, keep yourself detached from everything. Do not judge it, and let yourself allow this experience. I think because the universe does not know good or bad, evil or heaven. It does not know. It only knows teaching. What are we all here for? We're here for one thing only. Everybody on the screen is here for one thing only. What do you think that is? Soul growth. That's it. No more. The soul wants to grow and it needs this body to do so. Need to go out of our own way. We are the one who's stopping ourselves from doing this. So allow her in, meet her, say hello to her, embrace her, hug her, make her part of you, and you're safe. That's it. She's not here to hurt you. She
Let's
needs you. Only person.
let's go back to Joanna to see what she's talking about, Andres. I don't
Today,
know because we have like a 20 minutes. I think it's
I
very similar to what you're saying.
what happened?
Fabrizio and Sylvia, you wanna just
Yeah,
because so that
I
we
want
can
I want to very quickly
time.
just to make a um, connection with what Silver has said about the perispirit and actually the top of the chapter that we're studying tonight. So we're studying renewed life. And John has been saying that life has been given to us so that we can renew what been stored on our perispirit. So all those memories that has been stored in there, it's we can renew and transform everything there through life. And I think that's amazing insight to know that we've been given life so that we can renew whatever that we have that on our very spirit that needs renewed and evolved. And that's what I want to say.
Great, exactly. Yes. And that's a good point to renew life. Exactly. Let's just go back then so we have time. Um, I'll share here again the PowerPoint. Yes, Fabrizio, that's a great point because it's renewed life. So we were in the creative universe, then back to Joanna. Joanna is saying, in order for life to grow in abundance, you, make a careful assessment of how you feel. Now she gives guidelines, right? How you are and what you have achieved. Okay? In order for life to grow, as Andrea was saying. So, of course, if we don't spend time doing this careful assessment of how we feel, how we are, and what we have achieved, of course, in terms of development, evolution, and what we are talking about, then if we don't do that, it's kind of we get stuck in this this growing process, okay? And then she says, have the courage to carry out a conscious, have the courage to carry out a conscious, responsible, enriching self-analysis so that when you see the negative results, you are ready to face the revolutionary change of beliefs, thoughts, habits, behaviors, everything that constitutes an obstacle to your development, to the appreciation of life and its achievements. So she knows, as Jung tells us, that when we really do this self analysis, we are going to meet what Jung called the shadow aspects within all of us. Okay, things that the ego denies, represses. Of course, we have this light within us. Of course, we are part of the light of the creation. Okay, but we are evolving, we are learning. So, and we are in this material experience, like caught in space and time, caught willingly, because according to the spirits, we asked to be here, right? Don't forget that. Oh my goodness, how could I do that? Especially in this time, because it is a very difficult time for the ego, but it's also a very amazing time because we are in the first row of this theater of life, watching the evolution and the awakening of ourselves and so many people to this transition that we call spiritist knowledge calls this transitional moment where we are leaving this world of still very low energies to a world of higher energies, higher consciousness. But to do that, we have to go through this self-analysis, right? So we can see, as Joanna is asking us to do, the negative results that we have to face of our actions, thoughts, and things like that. Oh, I have, really been, oh, I studied so much the Spiritist doctrine, knowledge, and I studied so much the teachings of Joanna de Angelis. How could I have done that, this or that, to someone that I used to think that I loved, or someone that I love, or someone that I know loves me? How could I have been so mean? How could I do this and that? We all do, people. And sometimes it's some of our own complexes and traumas and things like that that comes from our personal unconscious. Sometimes, as Silva was saying, is something that it's in the archives, right? So in the memory of our perispirit that has to come out, has to come to consciousness, because we have to work with that trauma. We have to learn from it. We have to really go on and not get stuck in difficult challenges. So we have to face ourselves and pay attention, because many people in the collective are manipulated to see the shadow outside, to project the shadow. The problem is not me, the problem is this and that person, country, or group of people, whatever. It's not that there problems are of all over the world, because of course we are human beings evolving, and we are going to make mistakes. But as Andrew is saying, if I don't face my shadow, if I don't forgive myself for any mistakes and then really learn from them, because if I don't forgive myself, the ego will come, and through its mechanisms of defense, that is Freud, we already know about them, it's going to deny, it's going to send the whole thing back to the unconscious, right? So we have to face our shadows, our difficulties, so that we undergo and we arrive at this point, as John is saying, in this revolutionary change of beliefs, thoughts, habits, so difficult. We were talking about that in the beginning of the meeting. Behaviors, everything that constitutes an obstacle to our development, to the appreciation of life and its achievements. So it's not something that we can, oh no, I will live for later. As Anne said, step by step, little by little, but really walking, right? And really doing it every day a little bit. So Joanna said, old ingrained habits, vicious thoughts, weakened wills, pernicious atavisms, Retained resentments will conspire against your program of renewal, as Fabrizio was saying. He was reminding us that this is renewed life, the chapter. So, putting everything that we are reflecting upon together, everything that the group has said, Joanna is calling us to pay attention to old ingrained habits, vicious thoughts. Oh no, but I had this thought, it's not that vicious. I was thinking about that person, Andres was talking about judgment. No, but remember that when we were singing, it's all there in Burnout Society. Go look for that. Fabrizio puts all the recorded meetings there. When we talked about mechanisms of defense of the ego, do you guys remember the ones that Joanna said they were the worst? I thought she was going to say, as a psychiatrist, denial, something like that, because that's a very primitive mechanism of defense. And she said, remember, intellectualization, I think you say, right? And so, because when you try to reason too much and you try to come with very cultural excuses, let's say very complex excuses, to try to say that the problem is not mine, it's of that person. That's the worst way of being hypercritical, because we are going to say, we are going to project onto others personal aspects of the shadow. We are going to say, and as much as the person is very intellectual and reads a lot and knows a lot about different aspects, even about spiritist knowledge. I've seen lots of people. We can use anything. The ego can use anything to say that, to justify itself and to justify that the shadow is not within me, it's outside of me. Okay, so pay attention. That's Joanna saying. That's one of the worst mechanisms of defense she thinks it is. So then back to the test, she'll say, you will see the need for changes, but all the fixations of your existence will rise up, imposing restrictions, postponements, discouragements. Well, she is giving us the path, this sign, that sign, the way is very therapeutic, I think, and very clear for anyone to see, right? Because we are going to see the need for changes, but all the fixations, you were talking about that, Sylvia, Anne, and everybody else, of our existence will rise up, imposing restrictions, postponements, as Anne was saying, it's today, little by little. No, no, but maybe next meeting. Maybe I will leave. This is very complicated. And Fabrizio, next year I'll join the group because then I will understand better. Right? No, people, it's today, little by little, right? Imposing restrictions, postponement, discouragements. Then she goes on, among the many negative factors that will try to keep you in the posture of suffering or paralysis, there is the fear of what others will say, of how others will see you, of what will happen to you. So, people here, when we are in the study group of Joanna de Angelis, let's help each other to never let's compromise in this. Never have fear of what people will say, of how others will see us, of what will happen to us. Oh my gosh, like last in the first meeting, that was a teaching of Joanna Dias. Of course, that was a who knows, some problem with the technology, my computer. But it was not that beautiful, the PowerPoint. It was not, perfect. It would be recorded, as I told you. But okay, we are not here to pay attention, and we are not here. Of course, we can have fear, but then we face our fears, because fear is one of the emotions that paralyzed us, right? And we are not here to be cool or smart or, oh, I like so much this or that person. No, we are here together to connect with each other and to connect to the teachings of the mentor, to connect to higher beings that are trying to inspire and help us to go further, to have courage to face the challenges of this transition of the planet to higher dimensions. So Joanna says other disturbing mechanisms will emerge from the unconscious, our complexes, our traumas, intending to keep you at the level in which you are staged. You will believe that you are tired, old, young, see the duality, unequipped with desires, without more strength, incapable of facing new situations, and you will give in to the temptation to remain as you are. The ego, Joanna says that our ego at first moment will give in. Oh, I have this and that difficulty, it's too much for me, with problems, anguish, dissatisfaction, failures. We all have this. We all have experienced this at some point. And then she tells us begin your program by renewing your old beliefs, those imposed on you, as you were talking, by people who, although generous, are incapable of educating you with their derogatory opinions, their servile concepts, their disastrous predictions. I wanted so much to share with you. I'll see if I can put in. There's a guy that is kind of nowadays. He has decades of study, and he talks about in the Gospel of Matthew about the sayings that Jesus sayings about this time that we are living, the prophetic sermon, I think it's called. And I will try to translate or try to see in the YouTube if I can see the, because it's all about that. There are lots of people in the social media, in the different channels in social media that, they're many times they are generous, not thinking only about what they can gain with that. But see, people, we know the path is within ourselves for our evolution. And through the connection, if you are here, is because the calling of Joanna has reached you, right? And Fabricio and Andres and Silvia, people that are seeing, but all of you. So trust your heart, as I think someone put in the chat. The knowledge of where you can find something that can help you to reconnect with your inner wisdom and to work through your traumas and to work with your perispirit, the memory of your perispirit, for instance, as we were talking, is within ourselves. Our spirit is the one that it's not a guru. It's not a people that has I don't know how many millions likes in how which social media. It's within us. Okay. So it could lead us to the wrong path if we don't look within ourselves. So Joanna says we are almost there. You are able to overcome the pessimism and lack of self-esteem that were forced on you, and you accepted it without reluctance. This is your moment and not later or nevermore, just as Anne said. Change your thoughts and reasoning, directing them towards success, which you must believe, and by committing yourself, you will achieve it. Soon after, you move on to the renewing action. I'll just finish because we had to stop. And I just brought to you and know that many of you have the Spirit's book. We could comment more, but now we are almost in the end of our meeting. So people look the characteristic of a moral person. It's question 918 in the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec. When he asks the spirits, by what signs can we recognize in individuals the real progress that will raise their spirit within the spirit hierarchy? And the spirits, and they answer Kardec, the spirit proves its progress when all actions of its corporeal life consist in practicing the law of God, and when it understands the spirit life beforehand. Of course, you have to go to Spirit's book to see, okay, which are the laws of God that spirits are telling us about. We know of, Andrews were talking about the gospel, so that's the path, right? And of course, we say that in the gospel, if you go really deep, and at some point we're going to be studying the teachings of depth psychology and spiritist psychology of Joanna de Angelis about the gospel is a beautiful year, right, Fabrizio? But we have to go further before we get there. And so we have to understand better the laws of this unit that we call God, of this, how do you want to call the the higher psyche, I think, the divine emanation. I wrote down divine emanation, one of the names that Joanna calls and that was 19th century that the spirits were telling Kardec. But go to the spirits book and see better the text, okay? Because there are comments by Kardec that are wonderful. So to finish, I just want to go here, I think that's probably the last PowerPoint. In Renewed Life, Joanna says that old habits create strong resistance and will fight against your desire to change. You were talking about that in the beginning, right, of the meeting when my light went out. The physical light, people, the physical. I hope and pray you will help me. It is a new program which you will experience step by step, as Anne was saying, establishing itself little by little until the moment of good results. Never give up on renewing yourself for the better, because life does not return to the same conditions, circumstances, and time, although it never ceases to manifest itself, offering new opportunities. And that's the last one. Sorry, people, but I think that's so beautiful. I will end up with Rupert Sheldrake in the same book when he talks about transcendent reality. He says the universe as a whole could have a cause and a purpose only if it were itself created by a conscious agent which transcended it. Unlike the universe, this transcended consciousness would not be unlike the universe. We are matter of this universe, but unlike the universe, this transcended consciousness would not be developing towards a goal. It would be its own goal. It would not be striving towards a final form. It would be complete in itself. Isn't that beautiful? He is talking here about the divine emanation or God. So if we are sparkles of this light, of this transcendent reality, and if we live also immersed in this transcendent reality, we are evolving, but at the same time, within ourselves, this transcendent reality is unfolding. And it is complete in itself, as Andres was saying. That's the non-dual approach. Okay, people, so I'll stop sharing.
Anahy,
Back to you.
okay, what I'd like to suggest to the group, if everybody agree with that, because we have the technical issues, we extend it maybe for another 10 minutes, so that give opportunities for anyone who wants to share their insights or reflections before we actually close the study group. Is that okay by everyone? Okay, so in that case, who would like to share your insights and reflections before we can wrap it up for tonight? Sylvia?
Just very briefly, it's very interesting today the talks, because in my gospel in a home this morning I was reading this message from Emmanuel, and he talks exactly like that we, things, 7 points as well that Anna made, that we things in nature don't is not a leap, it's very slowly, trees grow very slowly and everything, but we should never ever give up, and we should not stay stunned and think that we are victims of this cruel world, but we should come out of ourselves and try to do a little bit every day and never give up. And it's exactly what Giovanna says here, and it seems to have these things coming from everywhere. We cannot escape, isn't it? Because and it's very important. And I just a point that one of the things that I really like about Giovanna is that she says exactly how sometimes we hide ourselves. Things are bad, I'm told, I'll never be able to learn this. We find all sorts of things to hide ourselves from doing it. And she said, you are capable. You just go, do it slowly, one step at a time. And she always, she exposed how we hide, but you said there is a path, there is a way. You just need it to want to do it. And I think that that's one of the most wonderful things that, through the studies that we're doing, that I understand about Joanna. She will always show you the path forward, always. And, she put a mirror in front of us, doesn't she? Which I really love. So it's been very good today, I think.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sylvia.
it was like a lighthouse, we say. Yeah. Yeah, enormous, isn't that? Andres?
Well, to experience something really slow, like the growing of a tree, or 100 years or 50 years or whatever, it's a human condition. It's not a soul condition. The soul doesn't recognize as anything as slow or fast, because time does not exist, right? So time is bent, when we're everything, we're nothing, when we're nothing, we're everything, and we're all of that at the same time. This is how people channel or lay cards, because we can tap in when we bend time. But the soul itself is 1,000 years old. It's infinite. It does not travel through a one existence. What we perceive as something we have to create in this lifetime, the soul maybe does not need to do it, because it can be a preparation through many lifetimes. So what I remember or feel I want to achieve now, if I do not achieve this, it's not a failure of that life. It's just something came in the way of the soul. It needed to prioritize, right? So often what we want in our lives, it's not what we want, what we can have in this life, because the universe will give us what we need, not what we want. Once it's what stops us to get what we need, truly need. So I believe that, if we have a calling, or we feel like, oh my God, we have to achieve something, and what is my purpose? We all have a purpose. And your purpose, it's not, when it's not achieved in this life, doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you're not ready. As simple as that, right? So to be here took us 20 lifetimes, many reincarnations. We've been a woman, we've been a man, we've been gay, we've been straight, we've been anything. So I do not know what we are now, but if we're meant to be the teacher, we're meant to be and fulfill our dream as a soul, we will do it now. But if you don't, we haven't failed. We go and we come back. That's it, really. There's no failure. The universe is perfect. We're always at the right time, at the right place, at the right moment. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Greg.
you, Andres.
Anyone else before we close the study group for tonight?
I just wanted to share. I'm without a hand. I have a old version of Zoom here, but I don't know if there is like a minute
Yeah,
or.
yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to thank everyone, and I'm very grateful for this group. And it has to do with synchronicity in my mind. I don't know. Maybe Anahy just let me know if that doesn't qualify. But I participated in a study group for many years, during many years ago, but then I switched to youth groups and working with youth groups. And lately I've been like thirsty to get into Joanna de Angelis study group. And I was like, desiring and ask here in English. I wanted in English specifically. And it's so funny because one day that I was like, started to call, was on Sunday, a friend who I didn't meet for 40 years, and I just met last year, who is not a spiritist. That same day that I was inquiring and making phone calls, she sends this group. I don't know. I even like got like many faces of Joana de Angelis and the link to this group. And I was like, what? Like, she's not spiritist. I didn't ask her. We don't talk. Like, I saw her like last year and we haven't been talking. And then suddenly this comes my way. And I felt that it was like, you know, God, synchronicity, universe, whatever we want to call it, but sending that my way. That's all.
It qualifies beautifully. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful example. Yeah, because it's a tuning, right? And Jung and we're going to be talking more about synchronicities because they are happening because of people awakening spiritually, awakening. So synchronicities as intuitions and things like that are from the higher self, not from the ego. The ego, wow, gets amazed. How can that happen? It's like magic. So I love to think, as my old friend, some of you knew him in the beginning, Professor Lionel Corbett, that we were, yes, we were living in a disenchanted world because the ego gets too much connected to this life, the material part of the life. Of course, we have to adapt. We are here living it. And we have to work and we have to take care of our bodies and things like that. But we have to understand that we have all these possibilities that we have been talking and learning through Joanna de Angelis teachings and Jung and other scientists from today, and about the books from Allan Kardec and many other spiritual teachers and friends from spirituality. So I think it's very important because, yes, it is a beautiful synchronicity and the way that we re enchant the world. The world not only has meaning and purpose, we say spirituality is all about meaning and purpose, but also is re-enchanted. It's magical again, in a good sense, not like children. Well, but children are so happy many times when the parents are okay and the environment. But it's like the divine child within us, the archetype of the divine child, all the potential and the creative force that we have within ourselves. That's the archetype of the divine child that we have, like the baby Jesus for people in the West, the Western cultures, for instance, right? Or the baby Buddha for the Eastern people. So it is very important that we realize, and that's a beautiful synchronicity. Thank you so much, Nadia. It is magical in a sense for the ego. How could that happen? I wanted to come. I wanted in English. But and then suddenly a friend sends you the link and this and that from nowhere, and she's not even a spiritist. Okay, we have to give thanks, many thanks to Fabricio that it's he's tireless. He never stops asking, calling people. He's a brave Joanna de Angelis soldier in the good sense, right? in this war between light and shadow that we are all living in. So thank you so much. If you guys have other examples, as Nadia brought, please bring to us, because this makes re-enchants the world for all of us, brings the light, and we can experience the light together. That's very important to for this courage that Joanna is asking us to have to face ourselves. Thanks so much, Nadia.
Thank you, Anahy. Just quickly, before I close the call, Deborah shared something very interesting in the chat. I just want to read it to everyone. She said, interestingly, today I was also reading Joanna's book, Happy Life, in which she was saying that we are able to contribute to solve the world's problem, starting our own homes with our family and friends, as it was discussed here today, little by little. And then Judith, you said you want to share something. Did you wanna speak to us about something you want to share with the group? That was a message from Judith on the chat. You're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, all right. Now, I just want to share this sentence because I was a carer with myself. If me give me courage to face anything and to grow my develop in myself, you know, and because whatever it may be, you are facing this life, our ego, our shadow, you can succeed in the end. We are, everybody. Just give me courage, and then I want to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Judith.
So much.
Okay, so we will say goodnight to all your listeners. I will stop the record.